Snow whispered across the peaks like the breath of the dead. In the Colorado Rockies, where the wind howls through the gorges like a mourning ghost, there stood an abandoned research facility. Steel walls buried beneath decades of frost and silence. Only one man lived there now, Dr. Elias Ward. He had once been a celebrated neuroscientist, a man whose brilliance was shadowed only by his tragedy. His wife, Claire, and their unborn child had been killed in a car crash that left him barely alive. The doctors called him lucky. He called himself cursed. And in that curse, he made a promise. If death took her, I will take something back. That promise would damn him. The underground lab pulsed with the rhythm of machines. Power cables snaked across the floor. Glass tanks flickered with light, filled with pale tissue. Muscle, veins, fragments of bone. On the central table lay what Elias called Subject 01, 6 feet tall, skin sewn with surgical precision, a body without a soul, a vessel waiting for lightning. For 5 years, Elias had worked in isolation, splicing neurons, weaving muscle fibers, trying to rebuild the architecture of consciousness. He had failed 100 times, but tonight, everything felt different. Outside, the blizzard roared like an animal. Thunder cracked the sky open. He pressed the final switch. Electric current surged through the body. Sparks arced across the metal frame. The smell of ozone filled the room. The creature's chest jerked. Fingers twitched. Then, for the first time in human history, a dead heart began to beat again. Elias gasped, stumbling backward. His gloves trembled as he reached for the face. Pale, scarred, almost human. The eyes opened, not with warmth, but with hunger. Where am I? Elias fell to his knees. You're alive. You're safe. You're my creation. The creature blinked slowly, voice broken. Alive! It smiled, not with joy, but with confusion. And somewhere in that moment, something inside Elias cracked. He named it Caleb. Days turned to weeks. Caleb learned language, movement, memory. He was strong, fast, but strangely fragile. A child trapped inside a nightmare of flesh. He studied Elias constantly. Every word, every look. Why do you fear me? He asked one night. Elias looked up from his notes. I don't fear you, Caleb. Then why do you never touch me? Silence. Elias didn't answer. He couldn't, because the truth was unbearable. Every glance at Caleb's face, stitched and lifeless, reminded him of his dead son, of the life he'd stolen. But Caleb understood pain. He began to feel anger, then loneliness. He stared at the lab's glass walls as if they were prison bars. One evening, he found a photograph. Claire, smiling, pregnant, sunlight caught in her hair. He traced the image with his finger. Is this what love looks like? Elias froze. Put that down. Did you make me for her? Caleb asked softly. No, I made you for me. The words hung heavy, poisonous. That night, Elias woke to the sound of glass shattering. The photograph was gone. So was Caleb. For 2 days, the mountain storm raged. When it cleared, news reached the nearest town. A hunter had been found in the forest, torn apart. Another body surfaced the next day, a woman from the nearby cabin community. The sheriff called it a wild animal. Elias knew better. He tracked the killings by flashlight and blood trail. On the bark of a tree near the second body, words were carved deep into the wood. You made me feel. Now I can't stop. Elias fell to his knees, his breath clouding in the cold air. He had wanted to conquer death. Instead, he had built something worse. Caleb was evolving, learning faster than humanly possible. Each killing was ritualistic, deliberate, and each one came closer to the facility. One night, Elias found something waiting at the door. A box. Inside, the broken photograph of Claire, covered in blood. On the back, written in red, "She would have loved me too." The generator flickered. Power dimmed. Elias sat in darkness, the wind shrieking through cracked windows. Then came the voice, soft, from the shadows. "Father!" He turned. Caleb stood at the entrance. Taller, colder, eyes glowing faintly blue beneath the lightning flashes. His skin had hardened. His movements were smooth, deliberate. "You left me in the dark," Caleb said. "Do you know what it's like to hear your own heartbeat echo in silence?" "You killed innocent people," Elias whispered. "You killed me first," Caleb said, voice rising. "You built me out of death and expected life to bloom." Elias reached for the tranquilizer gun on his desk. Caleb's eyes followed the movement. "Don't," he warned. "I didn't come to kill you, Father. I came to finish what you started." He stepped closer. "You gave me life. Now give me purpose." Elias shook his head. "You were never supposed to think, to feel. You were supposed to be proof." "Proof of what?" "That I could be God." Caleb's expression changed. Sorrow, then rage. He grabbed Elias by the throat and lifted him from the floor. "Then meet your God's punishment." The gun fired. A tranquilizer dart hit Caleb's shoulder. He roared, threw Elias against the table. Glass shattered. Blood splattered across the floor. Elias crawled to the switchboard, the same one that had given life 5 years ago. "If I can create you," he gasped, "I can end you." He pulled the lever. The lab exploded with light. Electricity arced through Caleb's body, his scream shaking the walls. When the smoke cleared, Caleb lay still, chest blackened, eyes staring into nothing. Elias collapsed beside him, sobbing. "I'm sorry, my son. I just wanted to bring her back." For a long time there was silence. Then Caleb's lips twitched. "You broke yourself," he whispered, before the final breath left his lungs. Snow buried the lab for weeks. Elias didn't leave. He buried Caleb behind the facility under a frozen oak, marking the grave with a simple word scratched into metal. "Son." He stopped eating, stopped sleeping. The guilt had consumed him, but grief has a way of returning in echoes. It began with the lights flickering at night, then the whispers through the vents, too faint to understand, yet unmistakably human. Once he woke to find the slab empty, the sheet torn open. He told himself it was a hallucination. He was wrong. A week later, he found fresh footprints in the snow outside the lab, large, deep, human. They led toward the woods. He followed them until he reached the clearing. At the center stood the oak. The grave was open, inside nothing, and carved into the tree trunk above it. "You said I was your son, so now I'll be like you." Elias ran back to the lab, heart racing. The lights flickered as he entered, and there, on the slab where Caleb had been born, lay a new body. Not Caleb, something smaller, a woman's frame, familiar. He staggered closer and froze. It was Claire, perfectly preserved, perfectly wrong. Stitches along her arms, a thin silver wire connecting her temples. Next to her head, written in blood, "I brought her back for you." Elias screamed until his throat tore. The monitors flickered alive. The Lazarus engine hummed. Claire's eyes opened. Spring never came that year. Rescue teams eventually found the facility buried beneath snow and silence. No trace of Elias Ward was ever discovered. But in the main lab, under shattered glass, they found something frozen solid. 2 bodies holding each other. One was Elias, the other, a woman with faint stitching across her skin. Both faces twisted in the same expression. Not of pain, but of realization. When investigators played back the damaged security footage, only one moment remained intact. A brief, flickering frame from the last storm. A tall figure standing at the edge of the ice watching the lab. And just before the camera cut to static, it smiled. They found her in the water, floating just beneath the surface of a rooftop cistern that fed the entire hotel. For weeks, guests had been drinking it, showering in it, tasting it. But this isn't a story about what they found. It's about what found her. Downtown Los Angeles, a hotel that refuses to die. The Cecil. Some say it's cursed. Others say it's hungry. Stay with me, because after this story, you may never step into an elevator alone again. Los Angeles glitters like broken glass under a smog-choked sky. In the middle of downtown stands a decaying monument, the Cecil Hotel, built in the 1920s. Once grand, now forgotten. Its walls flake with history. The lobby smells of bleach, dust, and old cigarettes. The light fixtures flicker, like the building's pulse hasn't decided whether to stop. Into this place walks Elisa Hahn, a 21-year-old traveler from Vancouver. Backpack, camera, journal, a restless spirit searching for adventure, unaware that she's walking straight into a nightmare. She checks into room 504, a single bed, thin curtains, a sink that drips constantly. That first night, nothing happens. The second, she writes in her journal. By the third, her entries change. Her handwriting erratic. Her tone confused. Her last post reads only, "It followed me up the elevator." Late January, security footage captures her last known movements. Elisa steps into the elevator, alone. She presses multiple buttons, 2 for 10, then she waits. But the doors don't close. She peers into the hallway, as if expecting someone. Then she flattens herself against the wall, hiding. Her hands move strangely, tracing invisible lines in the air. She steps in and out of the frame, smiling, whispering, waving at something unseen. And then, she steps out into the hall. The elevator doors finally close, and Elisa Hahn is gone. Days pass. Housekeeping finds her bed made, camera untouched, clothes neatly folded. Her shoes sit by the door, toes pointing inward. Staff recall her as quiet, polite, maybe troubled. But the night manager admits one thing. She talked to the walls. He claims he heard her humming from inside the elevator shaft days after she vanished. Soft, melodic, like water dripping into silence. The police begin searching the building. No forced entry, no signs of struggle, no trace of Elisa, until the guests start complaining. The water pressure drops. Taps sputter black. Showers reek of rust. One guest storms to the lobby holding a glass of murky water. He slams it on the counter and shouts, "There's something in the tank." Maintenance is sent to the roof. A hatch that should have been locked isn't. The air is dry, heavy, and smells faintly of chlorine. For massive cisterns rise against the smoggy skyline. 3 sealed. 1 slightly open. The worker lifts the lid, looks inside. He screams. Inside the water tank floats the body of Elisa Hahn. Face pale, eyes open. Hair spread like ink beneath the surface. She'd been there for weeks. No ladder, no access marks, no explanation. The coroner rules it an accidental drowning. Case closed. But nothing about this death fits the math. The rooftop door alarm never triggered. The cistern lid was too heavy. And every second of rooftop camera footage missing. The story spreads. The hotel drains the tank. But something remains. Guests start reporting strange things. Showers turning on by themselves. Voices whispering through the vents. And the smell of iron, always iron. A maid finds wet footprints in the hallway outside room 504. Bare feet, but reversed. Toes pointing away from the door. One guest claims, He saw someone standing behind him in the elevator reflection. A girl, dripping wet, her lips moving in silence. He left that same night. The elevator camera later glitched at exactly 3:12 a.m. Every frame static. The internet devours the story. Forums, Reddit threads. Millions watch the elevator footage frame by frame. They call it the elevator game, a ritual that opens a door between worlds. But the Cecil didn't need a door. It already had one. The building's history is soaked in tragedy. Suicides, murders, disappearances. Every decade feeding the next like layers of sediment. Locals say the walls hum at night, like the hotel itself is breathing. And if you listen long enough, you might hear the water moving, not dripping, but whispering. Months later, a new night guard joins the Cecil staff. His name, Miguel Alvarez. He doesn't believe in curses. Until one night, 3 a.m., the roof access alarm triggers. No response from the control room, so he goes up. The city lights glow below like dying embers. The cisterns sit ahead, dark silhouettes against the smog. One lid is open. Miguel approaches, shines his flashlight inside. Water, still, silent, then ripples. A reflection, his face, smiling back at him, too wide, too wrong. By morning, Miguel is gone. Only his radio remains, hissing static that, when slowed down, forms words. It followed me up the elevator. Security reviews the footage. At 2:58 a.m., Miguel walks into frame. He stops by the cistern, and behind him a second shadow moves. No one else is there. The last frame freezes. Two sets of footprints by the tank. One human, one not. The rest of the file static. Years later, the Cecil rebrands. Fresh paint, new signage. But the ghosts don't care about marketing. Guests whisper about lights flickering, elevator buttons pressing themselves, and a faint dripping sound at 3 a.m. One video goes viral, a woman filming herself in the elevator. She presses 5. The doors open. At the end of the hall, a figure stands, soaked, hair clinging to her face, water pooling at her feet. The camera drops. A whisper. She's still here. Maybe some buildings don't just hold the dead. Maybe they feed on them. They say water has memory, that every drop remembers where it's been. So when the faucet sputters brown for a second too long, when the elevator won't close no matter how many buttons you press, maybe it's not malfunction. Maybe it's something trying to return. So tonight, when you lie in bed and hear a steady drip, drip, drip from the sink above you, don't look up, because some things don't stay buried. They float. The Cecil is always thirsty.